Dami и господа, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metro. Through the dark waterways of the tunnels, all the way up to the surfaces where lay all manner of lakes and bogs, swim every kind of mutant imaginable. One of the most common ones is known as a shrimp, a rather comical name for a monster that is a lurker, a scrounger, that sits by the shoreside feasting on carcasses left behind. It would be more correct to say that the shrimp is a very large family of different crustacean/insectoid mutants, all of which sharing very similar habits and looks. They are actually pretty intelligent, able to form plans of attack, even known to ambush their enemies and set up formations from the most powerful at the front to the weakest at the back, meaning they use types of tactics and know when to fight or when to retreat. No matter their size, they all have a very similar shape of body, with either pincer-type claws or bulky arms that can smash apart boats and bones. They have a long tail that fans out at the end, often used while swimming and to bury their eggs beneath the mud and sand, which I will get into a bit more later on. The shell that contains their most vital organs is incredibly thick and is known to even deflect shotgun ammo. This is their main defense, as they are slower moving creatures when on land, but fast and slippery when beneath the water, capable of spitting out a type of toxic liquid. Many have stated that their entire look and the way of being is similar to a cockroach mixed with a crayfish or a lobster, which leads us on to talking about what exactly they mutated from, seeing as how they are indeed mutants. The common theory is that since they can only be found and survive near water, clearly being amphibious, is that they are indeed related to crustaceans of many kinds. However, with that said, there are theories suggesting they are also mutated from dragonflies, weirdly enough, which is an insect that spends a lot of its time near water as well. The reason for this theory is due to an extendable limb on the underside of their belly, which is something that dragonflies possess as a mouth-grasping part of their anatomy. But personally, I feel like that theory is pretty far-fetched for something like this. The likelihood is that they mutated from shrimp, cockroaches and crayfish, and maybe being a strange genetic bundle of all three of them. It also states that considering the crayfish's freshwater origins, it just helps to add to this whole idea and theory. And as a kind of a side note, shrimp is often served with beer inside of the Metro, which relates to crayfish in real-life Russia, because that is often served as a traditional appetizer alongside beer as well. Since there is such a large variety of shrimp, the main place to start would be with the smallest to the largest type. We are not sure if every variant will appear inside of Exodus due to the game's new locations, but it's still important to know about each one. Firstly, you have the shrimp hatchling. These can be found in and around the swamps, on the surface, or nearby water. They are tiny creatures, and their appearance is something similar to a lobster/cockroach. They are harmless though, normally found scurrying around dead bodies for scraps rather than actively going to hunt down humans. If approached, they choose to burrow into the ground and hide away from sight. These are normally considered to be the first stages of a shrimp's lifespan, or they are completely unrelated and merely a distant cousin. All in all though, they are pretty insignificant and can be overlooked quite easily. The female shrimp spend the majority of their time down below the surface inside of the flooded and abandoned metro tunnels. It is there that they lay their eggs, not acting particularly aggressively unless they feel that their young are being threatened. In fact, the females spend so much time down below the surface that they have become much weaker in comparison to other mutants. The comparatively quieter and less dangerous tunnels of the metro has allowed them to develop less armor and instead thrive in their own small populations, which means they mostly fend off humans rather than having to worry about larger threats and more dangerous monsters. The general idea is that the females will lay their eggs in the safety of the metro, those who hatch to be males will travel upwards to the surface, and the females will stay down below to produce more. This is just a theory though, which is not perfect because it asks the question of, do the males travel down to the metro in order to fertilize the female eggs? This seems a little sketchy due to how far they'd have to go, unless the females travel back to the males instead, fertilizing the eggs on the surface. I personally think that they leave the male eggs to hatch in the swamps above ground and the female eggs inside the protection of the metro, because when it comes to survival, the females need to be kept safe above everything else. The male shrimp are the larger variant, which are better armoured and more closely resembling a warrior. They can only be found on the surface, and this is why they are so much better protected and stronger than the females. They have had a much harder environment to deal with, hence have mutated and grown to combat it. They are unique for their jaw, which is distinctly crocodilian, while they use their claws to attack from a moderate range and to shield themselves from gunfire or other mutants. They can be very aggressive, and more often than not, the better idea is to run away or to avoid them completely. Bog shrimp are, for all intents and purposes, the most powerful variant inside of Moscow. They are considered the shrimp bosses, being very aggressive, often hidden while being camouflaged, and are speculated to be the eldest type of their species. A common reason for this is due to how viciously territorial they are, constantly coming into combat with other mutants over territorial disputes. They do not care if you are a human or a mutated bear. If you trespass into their self-proclaimed domain, you'll be in a lot of trouble. And finally, we come to the newest variant of the shrimp in Metro Exodus. I saved this for last because it seemed to make sense since they are the newest type. Similar to the Watchmen, the new shrimp has gone under a lot of changes in terms of design. This is largely due to the fact that they are not found in the same place as the rest of the subspecies back in Moscow. Hence they've been given a new look, that of which only helps to hammer home the idea that this particular variant did indeed descend from crabs and lobsters. As always everyone, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to support the channel then please share the video around, like it if you enjoyed it, and comment down below telling me what you'd like to see next or what you think of the game so far. You can check out my Patreon in the description, and thank you so much to all those supporting me so far and for all the coffee. It's been a massive help. Until the next one, you're going to have a very, very wonderful day. Peaky Blinders.